Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Coming up here on today's show, we got some news. We have some rumors to break down. Now, the first story that's coming up here on today's show, we're going to hit the headliner. We're going to talk about some top trending things that I've been seeing all over the internet. It's around Derek Carr. And did Derek Carr save his Raiders career with a game-winning drive, the 28th of his career? I'm going to go ahead and give this one only one no Chucky head, and I'm still going to say it's a small shred of truth. Did Derek Carr lead the Raiders to a win yesterday up against the Cleveland Browns? Yes, absolutely, and I appreciate that he did that. However, the Raiders are 7-7, and yes, they are in the playoff hunt. But to say that he totally saved his Raiders career, that's a little bit far-fetched for me. If I was the head coach, if I was the GM of the Raiders, I would say, Derek, I really appreciate everything you've done for this organization, but it is time to move on. And I think most fans are kind of in the same boat. Now, I'm not saying Derek Carr's the problem. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm also not saying that I think he is the solution, and I'm going to try to build a great team around whatever quarterback I have instead of giving Derek Carr basically $30 million, because that's the type of extension he's going to want, $30 million a year. So when you look at these numbers here up against the Cleveland Browns, 25 of 38, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 turnovers. The fumble and the interception were both very, very bad turnovers, and I really, truly believe if the Browns weren't missing the amount of players that they were, I mean, face it, their defense alone at one point was missing 8 starters. The offense was missing I shouldn't say just the offense, the team in general was missing their head coach. They were without their top 2 quarterbacks. They were at your 3rd string quarterback. So yes, the Raiders won this game, and yes, Derek Carr led a touchdown drive, but you are kidding yourself if you think that DC played well. I also don't think it helped with the amount of drops they had, but Carr by no means saved his career with the Las Vegas Raiders with the win we saw. You want to save your career? Get us to the playoffs. So get your votes in here, y'all. Did Derek Carr save his Raiders career with a win over the Cleveland Browns in Week 15? Go down to the comments section and let me know. Type Y for yes, or once you go ahead, type your N for no. The next story here is around Trayvon Mullen, and is his career over with the Las Vegas Raiders? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, but first, I want to say this. I want you guys to hit me up on Instagram this week, at MitchellRens365, because there's going to be a lot of updates around the silver and black. And the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be heading home for the holidays, and I'm not going to be making any more videos. All the videos that you're going to see the entire week are going to be from videos that I filmed today. So if we get more updates around our squad, I'm going to post on Instagram, and I'm going to post on Twitter. So I don't want you to miss any of it. So make sure you follow me on IG. So is Trayvon's career over with the Raiders? I'm going to say, again, one Chucky head, small shred of truth here, because I get it. People are frustrated that Mullen is headed to the IR for the 2nd time this season, which means his season is over, and he's dealing with that toe. He is expected to be a free agent in 2023, and people are like, well, just get rid of him. He's always hurt. He can't get on the field, and when he's even on the field, is he even that productive? Cutting Mullen would save the Raiders $1.48 million in 2022. Is saving $1.48 million a good thing? Sure. But also, if you decided to move on from Mullen, you got to eat about $800,000 in cap space. The reason why I'm giving this only one Chucky head, saying it's a small shred of truth, is because I want Mullen on the team. I don't think he's ever going to be a cornerback 1. I don't think you're ever going to see him shut down guys the way that Casey Hayward has shut down players this year. But a lot of NFL teams would love to have a cornerback 2 like Trayvon Mullen. So when you look at some of these numbers here from this season, he's been up and down. He's also been, well, banged up. So when you look at his PFF grades, a 61.7 overall grade. The run defense grade of 52.7. And sure, I want somebody that can defend the run, but I want a cornerback in the National Football League that can defend. What? Against the pass. 64.3 coverage rating. And sure, he's played in only 5 games, and that's what's really going to come up here. Can he be healthy? The only way that I personally will say that I will decide to move on from Mullen is if either A, the Raiders just can absolutely kill it in free agency and you get two players better than Mullen. I don't necessarily see that happen, considering the price that you'd probably have to pay those players. You could have Mullen on his final year of his contract making about $2.5 million, and then you make the decision in 2023. Then you figure out whether or not you're going to go ahead and bring him back. But for me, I want Mullen on this squad in 2022, whether it's just a depth move, whatever it is. Mullen, again, played in only 5 games this season. I want to see a little bit more out of him, of course. I want him to be healthy. But if for whatever reason he's just can't get healthy, then that's a totally different conversation. So should the Raiders cut Trayvon Mullen in 2022? If you're going to type C for cut, remember, you're going to have to eat about $800,000. Now, sure, you'll save about 1.45, but it definitely has to be in that as train of thought, as I lose my train of thought. C for cut, K for keep. What should the Raiders do with Trayvon Mullen? Now, if they decide to cut him, I can guarantee you this, we're going to be making a video about it. So if you haven't yet, hit that big red button that says subscribe. And I want to say thank you to everyone who helped the Raiders Report get to 100,000 subs. We hit it during yesterday's Raiders vs. Browns watch party. I'm also going to be doing a watch party on Sunday when the Raiders play the Broncos. I'm getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning in central Pennsylvania, hopping on the very first flight I can because I want to be able to provide you guys with content. So if you haven't yet, please go ahead, hit that big red button that says subscribe. All right, the next story here is around Johnathan Abram. And Abram left Week 15 early. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. And is Abram done for the season? I'm going to go ahead and give this one 2 Chucky heads. People are talking. It's a coin flip at this point. Rich Bisaccia spoke about it a little bit. There was a report from Tom Pelissero that came out and said that he suffered a dislocated shoulder. Now, this isn't the first time that he has suffered a dislocated shoulder this season. But Abram also, shout out to him, he hasn't missed a snap yet this year. That is a unbelievably difficult thing to do. And believe me, I get it. I rip on Abram a lot for being terrible in coverage because he is really bad in coverage. But yesterday was probably one of the best games I've seen Abram play throughout his entire career because all they did was say, okay, Mullen's try to beat us deep. They weren't able to do it. Abram played great. Now, Abram will undergo an MRI for further results. And as I am making this video on Tuesday, I do not know what those MRI results are. So if you see the video at a later date and you're like, wait a minute, we already know, I'm telling you. As this current moment, I do not know. But I also know this. Abram has played through a dislocated shoulder before, so even if it's that, he might have a chance to play. If it's more severe, then they might decide to sit him. But for this guy, man, I really, really hope that he can be out there. If Abram, let's say, is hurt and he is unable to play, I really think that there are 3 players that you're going to see the Raiders try to bring in as an Abram replacement. Now, sure, you might see them potentially try to bring back Clinton Dix. I've even heard the name Carl Joseph been thrown around. But for the guys that are currently on the roster, look for Roderick Teamer to be able to step up, play some more snaps here at safety. Dalen Levitt is going to be another name that the Raiders really like. And shout out to Levitt. I thought he actually played pretty well this past week. And then the rookie out of Missouri, Tyree Gillespie. If Abram is down for even a game, if he's out for 2 weeks, whatever, if he's out for the rest of the year, really look for those 3 players to try to step up and try to be that Johnathan Abram replacement. Now, I'm really hoping he's okay because Abram does bring a lot of excitement, and even though he is a liability in coverage, the teams that the Raiders are going up against these next 2 weeks, Denver Broncos, Indianapolis Colts, if the Raiders want to win those games, you better hope Abram is healthy. I'm also going to hope that Denzel Perryman's there. Hopefully, Divine Diablo is good as well. But I'm really hoping Johnathan Abram is going to be out there on the field. And I hope you guys go ahead and type 24. Wish him a very, very speedy recovery. Hopefully, he's all good. Now, if you guys want to go ahead and bet on the Raiders, if you want to bet on any NFL game in Week 16, you can go ahead and do so by going to chatsports.com/Raiders. Promo code Raiders 125 for 125% deposit bonus. And this deal is only going to be valid until Christmas. So think about this real quick. We are also going to give you a free jersey for first-time BetUS users. So if you use the link that I just told you, chatsports.com/Raiders, if you deposit $100, you get $125 for free to bet with, and you're going to get a free jersey. All I ask you to do for those first-time BetUS users, email me your account number at the email that you see below, jersey@chatsports.com. The 3 jerseys that we have on file is Crosby, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. So if you don't have any of those 3 players, the jerseys are also in black and in white. So we have all sizes available. So if you need a free Raiders jersey, email me, jersey@chatsports.com. Now let's break down some of these other players that we're going to talk about here. I do want to give some love to A.J. Cole, the punter, for making the Pro Bowl. Maxx Crosby for making the Pro Bowl. Denzel Perryman for making the Pro Bowl. Now we're about to talk about 98 and Perryman here in a sec. But let's first talk about Crosby. Should the Raiders extend Maxx Crosby? I've been talking about this for weeks at this point, and the longer and longer the season goes, the more and more I am waiting for the Raiders to pull the trigger and hopefully extend Crosby. One of the best in the league. This one's for no Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. This season, from a sack standpoint, it hasn't been what we've been hoping for, and I think if you ask Crosby as well, he's like, well, man, I'm getting held all the time, which he absolutely is. 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 39 tackles. However, he does lead the National Football League in quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, which, believe it or not, is a very important statistic, and he's opening up a lot of other avenues for some of these other Raiders defensive players. When you look at his career in 46 games, the young guy, 4th-round pick out of Eastern Michigan, I really truly believe since the 2019 draft has been the steal of that draft, and it's not really all that close to me. 129 tackles, 38 tackles for loss, 22 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. What he did as a rookie should have showed everybody right away that this was a bad, bad man. And not only is his production on the field good, what he brings to the locker room, what he does for Raider Nation, what he does for the Las Vegas community. This is everything you were looking for in a player to build around, and I'm really hoping that the Raiders realize sooner rather than later that this is a guy that they need to extend. I'm saying give him $18, $19 million per year. I don't want Maxx Crosby on any other team than the Raiders. The next story coming up here is around Denzel Perryman, and despite him being injured, should the Raiders try to re-sign Perryman and not even let him hit the free agent market? You see this? Guess what? We're going to put it down here, too. This is also for no Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. I don't give a shit that Perriman's been out the last 2 weeks. I don't care that he's been banged up. He is 29 years old. He has been a great fit in this Gus Bradley defense. Now, sure, with probably the Raiders cleaning house this offseason, you're going to bring in a brand new defensive coordinator. Perriman might not be the exact same fit that he has with Bradley. I don't really give a shit because he's got 133 tackles. He is a good run stopper. Sure, he's a liability in coverage, but with all these new pieces that you're about to see in the coaching staff, you need some guys that have that experience. You need some guys that can put some of these younger players underneath their wing, and to me, that's somebody like Denzel Perryman. So what do y'all think? Would you bring him back? Should the Raiders re-sign him? Type R for resign, type W for let walk. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because you're probably going to have a brand new DC. The Raiders, they absolutely won this trade early on in the offseason, which can't even believe Carolina, gave up on him the way they did. But with a 29-year-old linebacker who's dealing with an injury right now, I always say that linebacker is by far the easiest position to be able to replace on the defensive side of the football. But I would be a bad host if I didn't ask you R for re-sign or W for let walk. The last rumor here on the Raiders Report is around the 2022 NFL Draft, and what you're going to start seeing here on the show is more stuff of me talking about the offseason, which is basically how I'm rounding out today's show. Should the Raiders go out and draft wide receiver out of Arkansas Treylon Burkls? I'm going to say one, no Chucky head. I'm going to give it a small shred of truth. Now, the reason why I am talking about this is because, remember, part of my job here is to talk about news. It's also to talk about top trending stories that I see on the internet. And Pro Football Focus released a mock draft where they had the Las Vegas Raiders taking Burks in the first round. Not that I don't think that the Raiders need a wide receiver in round one. Not that I don't like Burks as a prospect. However, when I really think about Burks overall, I get that they are comparing him to DK Metcalf, and I get that the Raiders need a wide receiver one. The reason why I'm going with one, no Chucky yet, is because he's not a top 5 receiver to me in this year's draft class. Now, he's a big guy, and you're going to see people compare him to DK. The comparison that I make more often is Andre Johnson. That's what I see when I watch Burks. But this season in 12 games, 67 grabs, 1,123 yards, 11 touchdowns for the Razorbacks. He also dealt with some injuries here and there, but I really like what he brings. When I did my overall scouting report on Burks, this is what I said. Big catch radius, can play inside, he can play outside. His issues is concentration drops. If you were frustrated from what Amari Cooper used to do, Burks is really going to drive you nuts. The 6th best receiver in this year's class. Now, taking a wide receiver in round one, it's a possibility. But when I look at overall, Burks to me shouldn't go in the top 20. If you're going to take a receiver early on, I would rather have Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson. Heck, I'd even rather have Drake London, Jahan Dotson. For London and Dotson, I don't see those guys going in the top 20. For Wilson, Olave, he could potentially go there, though I'm a lot higher on Olave than a lot of other people. But here's my question for everyone watching, to the 760 people watching live. Should the Raiders draft a wide receiver in round 1? I get it, man. I really wish I didn't have to ask this question for obvious reasons, because I really thought the Raiders found their wide receiver 1 the first few weeks of the season, but because of what happened, you guys know what happened. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Should the Raiders draft a receiver in round 1? I'm going to cheat a little bit because this is my show. It absolutely depends on free agency. What can the Raiders do in free agency? Are you able to get Devontae Adams? The fact that Chris Godwin just tore his ACL, that's really going to hurt his ability to go out and sign a brand new contract. What about somebody like Allen Robinson? He's available. Michael Gallup's available. Everyone loves Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to be available. There's very talented receivers that are available in free agency, and if you don't get any of them, then sure, then maybe your focus shifts to the receiving class in the draft. But when I look at the overall needs of this team, offensive line is a bigger need than wide receivers. So because of that, and because of how deep this year's wide receiver class is, I'm personally going to wait. I don't want to take a wide receiver in the first round of this year's draft. I think we got to build in the trenches. We got to either go out and get a defensive tackle, or we got to go out and try to find somebody at right tackle, because that's how this team is going to win games, in the trenches. So that for that reason, I'm going to say no. I do not want the Raiders to go out and draft a receiver in the first round.